college kids living in their safe spaces on college campuses, holding protests and hunger strikes. So this is an honest question. You sent your 19-year-old off to college, and they came back loving socialism and blaming America for everything. How can parents un-brainwash their kids when they come home for the summer?
Nationally syndicated Salem radio host Larry Elder joins us now. Nice to see you this morning, Larry.
Hey, Larry.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, we're doing well. We're doing well. So this is a good question. So you spend this whole year in all of these different classes, hanging around in these safe spaces.
Paying how much money?
And yeah, and you're paying how much money. Of course, they're coming back. You're not only cleaning all of their laundry, now you have to clean their brains a little bit. Where do you start?
Right. Well, in my first book, I have a whole chapter about academic bias, and you start by arming your children with the information. I think most people don't know that liberals outnumber conservatives on college campuses by about a factor of 12 to 1. If you can find a conservative in the department, it's often the case that in a women's studies department, for example, you won't find a single conservative. Also, whether or not this bias affects the teaching in the class is important. And there's a study by the National Organization of Scholars that looked at the UC campuses here in California that says that the teachers have long since crossed the line from education to indoctrination.
Sure.
The professors' political contributions. Ivy League professors in 2012, 96% of the money went to Obama versus Mitt Romney. And the question is whether or not these kids are getting an education as opposed to getting an indoctrination. So, and there are also websites where if you hear bias in the classroom, if you feel you're being bullied, if you feel that you're going to be hurt by your grades if you quarrel with the professor, there are websites like College Fix where you can let people know what's going on in your classroom and you can fight defensively.
Okay, so Larry, absolutely right. But they walk in the door. It's May. They've just been a freshman at college. They've been studying socialism and blaming America. And they sit down at the counter and look you in the eye and say, "I love Bernie Sanders now, Dad." What do you do? How do you deprogram the biases that have now infiltrated their mind?
You know, I have on my Facebook and Twitter a link of a YouTube video with Bono, the rock star who spent years raising money to fight poverty, and he has concluded that the primary weapon to fight poverty is, get this, wait for it, entrepreneurial capitalism. And so I think if your kids realize that a rock star, a left-wing rock star, spending all these years to raise money for the poor, finally realize that the best method, the best way of alleviating poverty is, wait for it, capitalism, not Bernie Sanders collectivism or socialism, capitalism, entrepreneurial capitalism. And the kids need to understand, when you look at the history of the world, the states that have engaged in free markets, limited government, private property, those are the ones that prosper.
Larry, I was just wondering, what is the fix here? I mean, how do you solve this? How do you make it so your kids go to college, get a good education, are not pulled one way or the other politically? Because ultimately, that's what you want out of a college education, right? Figuring it out for yourself, but just really getting a good education.
Well, you can also choose the college. Most colleges, big, small, east, west, north, south, public or private, are left-wing, but there are some small liberal arts colleges, often religiously based, one of which is called Hillsdale in Michigan, that don't even accept any kind of federal money because they don't want to have the federal government interfere with their teaching process. So there are schools like that. But the main thing is to just recognize that you are going to be outnumbered and surrounded, and recognize that professors often will teach their politics in their classroom, and that you ought to arm yourself with facts, information to counter it. And if you feel you're being hurt academically, you can take action.
So what I'm hearing too, Larry, is when you come home for the summer, get a job.
Get a job. And maybe you can even take some of your professors, depending upon the law of the state and the rules of the campus, to verify and corroborate what you're hearing in campus, in classroom, if you feel that you're having a professor who's really just teeing off on Trump, who's biased, who's unfair, who's not listening to other alternatives in the classroom.
Good stuff.
Larry Elder, good to have you this morning.